Yeah, putting up the clam is easy. Now we've had this for, must be a year now. We've used it a bunch. Folks have asked me, hey, how's that working out for you? Do you still like it? And we're going to tell you what we like and what we don't like about the clam shelter. This is the Clam Venture. It's got a 9-foot floor diameter, although it's kind of an oblong shape. It's not perfectly round like a yurt would be. But we bought it for bugs mainly, because up in the mountains of Montana, the bugs are terrible in the summertime. The next size up is a 12-foot. That would be massive and not something that a couple like Linda and I wanted to mess with. Then the Traveler is smaller, and it's 6-foot square. For a single person, that's probably a pretty good unit to have, especially if you're traveling in a small RV or a van. This one doesn't, I don't know what it weighs, you can look that up, but it's not heavy. Linda can do this all by herself, so the putting up and the taking down is actually pretty simple. When we purchased it, we got the auxiliary side panels. We bought 3 of them, and we use those mainly for blocking wind. Because the other thing that we like about this clam shelter is it's great for cooking, because you can get out of the breeze that normally messes up your propane stove or whatever. It's nice and sheltered inside.
Roll it up.
When we bought it, we also purchased a set of heavy-duty stakes. 10 of these to go with it. It's better than the plastic ones, especially if you're pounding into rocky soil. There's one of these at each corner of the clam. So how many is that? There's one on either side of the door. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus you can stake the door down too. If you want to have just half your door open, you can make these stake down also. The one thing about the clam is that they don't handle high winds. I'd say it's pretty good up to about 20 miles an hour wind, but if you got gusty winds, it's a quick set, and that means that it's also quick to come down. Take the thing down, because when you get high winds, this thing can take off like a rocket, and this one did. We were down in near Havasu, and we got a thunderstorm went through that we weren't expecting, and this thing picked up like it was lifting off, pulled all its stakes out, and collapsed on the ground. I have a video out on that, I show you it. I thought that all the supports, the fiberglass poles were going to be broken. I thought it would have ripped the grommets out and everything. It did 0 damage, didn't even stretch a stitch. So I was pretty happy. I think they're made, for the price, they're made really well. It comes with tie downs that attach up here at this level. And these are mandatory if you're going to have it up in any wind at all. So just take the tie down and do the same thing with the same stakes. And then just tighten it up. And make sure you got all your tie downs right. So as for going up, it's like kind of like putting up a tent, but it's simple, nothing to it. Now the thing is though, that if a wind comes up, all you got to do is go around the clam and lift these. Just go trip every one of those and then go inside. Just collapse the top and push in the sides. Put a couple 5-gallon water jugs on it or something to hold it down. It's that simple. So there's no excuse to leave it up in the wind. You can just take it down. So Linda, what's one of the things you like about it?
Oh, I like that, well, we stepped inside and it's already considerably cooler than right out there for the shade. I don't like putting up the panels because they just kind of keep the heat in. I like them during the winter camping. I love the side panels because they seem to block that little bit of cold breeze. It's just enough that
It's warmer in here in the wintertime.
Yeah, I don't complain. It's freezing.
Yeah. Well, Linda mentioned it being cooler in here, but let me tell you, when the sun gets up higher and it's coming through this this light-colored top, it actually gets really hot in here. One of the things we don't like about the clam shelter is it's no good for shade. It's got this great no-see-um mesh around it, which keeps out the no-see-ums. They can't get through, so for keeping the bugs out, it's super. This also helps keep the breeze from coming through freely though, but that's just one of the drawbacks you got to live with.
Yep. Yeah, otherwise it's a great thing to have.
So the pluses are, it blocks the wind. Oh, rain.
Yeah.
When we got this, I did a video when we first bought it, and we took a, what do you call that? That spray waterproofing that you use on tents. We bought a can of that and we waterproofed the top, and I also took some tent seam sealant and I went over, I did all the seams everywhere on it. I don't think that was necessary because between the time when we sprayed it and the time I did the seam sealant on it, we had a heavy downpour in the mountains, and I mean pouring so hard that to go in and out the door you had to go through a waterfall. That's how hard it was raining. Those seams didn't leak. So you don't need to do the seam sealant, but I do recommend the waterproofing spray. You can do that.
I wish the zipper thing was different, only because I hate the zipper.
Why?
It's so noisy and it takes two hands to operate sometimes.
Yeah, it's not a one-handed thing. You got to use two hands, hold the bottom, and zip it down.
I usually have something in my hands going in and out.
Plate of something. So we set up our cooking table in here and our stove, and we have our chairs inside, and we do all our kitchen activities in here. No bugs. Nice.
Yeah.
So we've been in here a lot when it's raining outside, and we've got a nice sheltered place to do our cooking and to sit and watch the rain come down. So I think that's it. We don't like it for the lack of shade. It kind of gets more like an oven in here when the sun is overhead.
Yeah, it's starting now.
It's starting now.
You can feel the heat coming off the roof.
One thing I've thought about for shade is you can buy those cheap Mylar space blankets, the kind that fit in your pocket. And they're about 6 by 9 or something like that in size. If you bought 2 of those, you could stretch them behind these supports here and just kind of give yourself on the inside and give yourself some shade on the inside. They would totally reflect the sun and give you a nice shady spot to sit in here. So if it is hot, you could do that quite easily, yeah?
Yeah, just do it on the panel that's where the sun is.
One person mentioned that you can unhook the bottom of the side panel and pull it out a little bit and stake it just to catch a little breeze. And I can see where that would be beneficial. It's got this skirting that runs all around the foot of it, and I suppose that helps keep out the dust. Also might help with some insects. Ground insects, crawling insects might not want to crawl underneath that. I suppose it would also shed some water too. For us, this is how the clam shelter works best, as a bug-free place to do your cooking, and the mesh around the outside cuts down on the breeze so it doesn't bother the propane flame. And if it gets to be a little more breeze, we just put up a wind panel or 2 or 3. But this is what we got it for. Of course, it's nice to be sitting inside with no bugs to eat your lunch too. Of course, us being from Montana, another place where the clam shelter works extremely well is in cold, wintry weather. We just use it as a place to cut the cold chill and kind of a, nice place to kind of hide out in. So not just for hot weather, it also works well for cold weather. Of course, I'm not talking about camping in the deep snow. I'm just talking about fall weather, early winter, early spring when you still got patches of snow on the ground and you just want to be able to get out and then have a kind of a snug place when you put the wind panels up to do your cooking and to sit in your chairs where you're not sitting out in the cold breeze. We like it a lot for that. In fact, that's why we got it initially, and that's how we used it initially, was Montana chilly weather. Now, quite a few people have asked me about using the Clam for camping as a camping tent. I don't recommend it. It's not real wind resistant. I mean, if you're camping in your backyard or you're camping someplace where you know there's not going to be any wind, any storms, yeah, go ahead. I mean, what the heck? Put your cots inside and your sleeping bags. But to count on it as a shelter in a storm, no, that's not what it's made for. It's made as a bug-free picnic tent. That's what it is. But it's made very well. It's strong. It stands up to abuse. We give it lots of abuse. We have, and it's done real well. But you see, like in a pouring rain, like the top doesn't leak, but to go in and out the door, you're walking through a waterfall. That's not good. And then if the wind picks up above, say 20, you're taking it down. So for a camping shelter, no, buy a regular, tent made for sleeping and camping in. Buy a good one. If something was to happen to this clam shelter, we would buy another one. So I guess that's a pretty good recommendation. Folks ask us why we bought the Clam brand instead of the, what is it, a Gazelle or something?
And there's other brands too, I think.
Well, why did we buy this one?
Well, because where we live, the ice fishermen buy this brand, Clam, for their ice shacks. So we thought it must be good stuff.
Yeah, we didn't have anything else to go on. And with that, we bought it. And like I say, it's held up really well. We're happy with it. So this is the Clam review part 2. What we think of it after a year's use. We give it a thumbs up. Yeah. Well, if you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you around.